Hello guys, so as promised, today I'm going to make a video regarding different facts that aren't really that known, okay, regarding Africa. The idea here is getting to understand our culture better, okay, and getting to know our origin, because I believe that through that you get the strength that allows you to grow, okay. So a thing that I'm going to share in this video, I think is something that for sure will interest you. You might be aware of it, or maybe you might have an idea of it, but the in-depth knowledge that I'm going to share here will probably allow you to even see things differently, to change your perspective over maybe something you used to think about Africa. So if you're really interested in that, then stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to Let's Grow Together Afro. My name is David Bisumo Warbazi. On this channel, we share topics related to personal growth, culture growth, as well as business related topics. So if there's something that really interests you, then you can be certain that you're on the right channel. So as I stated in the introduction of this video, today I'm going to talk about different facts that aren't really known. And in this video, I'm going to cover one specific fact, which is basically the size of Africa. You probably wonder why the size matters. I'm going to explain it later, or maybe you will get to discover it with time as you're watching the video, okay? So basically, Africa has a total square meter of 30,370,000. Okay, and looking at that square meter or the area, basically it can fit in a lot of big countries in the world. And here we're talking about countries such as the USA, for instance, India, China, Japan, Mexico, and even the whole European Union. All combined, not different separately, all combined. But by saying this, you might be shocked, right? You might wonder how that possible. Why, looking at the Google map, we see that Africa is quite small, right? Basically, what we're going to do is that we're going to be a bit more factual. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to share numbers with you, and together we're going to sum up the total numbers of the square meters of the few countries that I just mentioned there, and let's see whether they will fit in terms of land area or land size. Okay, so the USA, for instance, the USA is 9.8 million square meter. China, China is 9.6 million square meter. India is 3,287,000. Okay, so 3,287,000 square meter. Japan is 378,000. Okay, Mexico is 1,964,000 square meter, and the European Union, all combined, which makes up to 27 countries, all together make up to 4,230,000 square meters. So the total of this gives us 29,259,000 square meter. It's still even less than the size of Africa, because I told you Africa is 30,370,000 square meter, and here we have a total of 29,259 million, right? So there's still enough space whereby a few more countries can still fit in. So now the question that you probably ask yourself is, if this is the case, where did this come from? Why is it done this way? Because, okay, it's a logical thinking if you're to compare the numbers, but why does it show Africa when you go on Google Map way smaller than other countries, which are obviously even smaller than the African continent? Okay, just to also portray it, look at this image. Okay, basically this is Africa based on the current map that we use, and in reality, okay, this is Africa in comparison to USA. Is that not surprising? Because basically on the map you see that the United States is quite huge and it almost have the same size as Africa, or even a bit bigger than Africa, but in reality it's been very small in comparison to Africa. Basically it's like four times, almost four times the whole continent, so you can imagine. So again, as I was saying, where did this one come from? Where did they thinking? Where did these maps come from? Why are things being done this way? Basically, this comes from a European cartographer known as Gert de Kremer, okay, who is also known as the Mercator. I'm gonna call him the Mercator because it's way easier to pronounce it than the other name, okay. Basically, it started, or this map was created in the 16th century, to be specific, in 1569. So in the year 1569, okay, so quite a while ago. However, we're still using the same map, the same version, in Google Map, for instance, in OpenSheets, and other maps that we use in Bings, for instance, and other programs or applications or apps that make use of maps, okay. So the initial purpose of this map wasn't really for what we're using it for today, okay? Basically, initially it was meant to help in terms of navigation. So it was for navigation purposes for sellers back then, because they were struggling while selling. They had to use multiple equipment, and yet they were finding it hard to find their direction. So through this cartographer, okay, Mr. Mercator, so he had the genius idea of creating this map whereby through the lines you could easily know your direction. If you're to follow a straight line, then you know that you're going straight to where the lines direct you. And for that, he had to make use of the median line, okay? And the inconvenient with his map is that, as you can see on the picture, basically the what the map looks like, okay? And through those lines, basically a sailor would know, okay, by going straight on this line, I know I'm gonna end somewhere in South America. If I come from somewhere like in Ghana or I come from somewhere like in Congo Brazzaville, okay? I don't know. But basically through the lines, he could easily direct himself. And that was the benefit of it, okay? But the only issue with his map is that the countries that are in the south medium, okay, of the line, the median line, right? Those countries were showcased or were demonstrated, were shown as very small countries when in reality they aren't really small, and that really impacted Africa as well. Okay, however, what is strange is that we still use this map, although it was used for navigation purposes, we still use it, and whenever we go to school, it's the same map that we use for study purposes as well. In other words, it's something that has really been imprinted in our brain, okay, since our childhood. Basically, we know Africa is there, it's quite small. Okay, the European continent is up there, America is extremely huge, it's somewhere there. And we know it, okay? We see things that way, and some of us even believe that the real size of what we see there of those continents. But in reality, something that was wrongly done, and it was for other purposes. But people tend to believe that there were other reasons, okay? Other reasons rather than what I just mentioned earlier, okay? Since this was an invention made by European, it was also done with the purpose of benefiting Europeans. And people believe that since this could also benefit the European continent in terms of size, considering their small sizes, the small countries within the European continent, the map is actually advantageous, especially looking at those countries that are in reality extremely huge, but in the map they appear to be smaller. Okay, in this case, they could easily intimidate or even impose the leadership or power over these countries. Okay. So according to a professor called Marianne Franklin, okay, what she said is that the terms power of representation and representation of power sums up quite well how maps and the rise of the Western nation-stated system, and with that, empire and colonialism are linked. I'm just stating what he said. Okay. So basically, in conclusion, or in other words, what he's trying to say that uh, when speaking of power and power representation, it's all linked to even how the country is represented, and the maps itself give the power to this country that are presented to be huge. Okay, if you were to look, for instance, at a country like Belgium, for instance, that colonized Congo, on the map it might look huge, but in reality it's extremely small, extremely small. And during the colonial time, this is something that was used. Because basically, when these people came, for instance, to Africa, they'll come, okay, they are very welcomed. We believe they're great people. But on top of them being great people, they are also big people, okay? We believe they're huge as countries. They come from huge countries because basically the map was already implemented back then. So when you see somebody coming to visit you come from a big country, there's a bit of fear that is instilled already in you because, yeah, you're being told that your country is quite small, right? So you fear this person. And I think it's very logical. Even look at these big countries, okay, the most powerful countries in the world, okay? Here I'm referring to, for instance, India, China, okay, the USA, Canada, or Russia. What do they all have in common? Apart from the military forces, what do they have? They're extremely big in terms of size. So the size matters. It matters a lot, a lot. Okay. I don't know if you know the concept of the elephant. It's a metaphor, basically. Basically, the idea with the elephant or this metaphor is that when the elephant is still very young, it is mostly tied up, okay, through a chain or restrained in some cases, and usually the chain is also connected to a tree or a post, okay. And as a baby, the elephant basically will try to get itself free from the chain, but regardless of all the endoven or the efforts, it won't be able to get itself free from there, okay? And after trying countless times, basically it's end up believing that, yeah, basically I can't do it. I'm incapable of freeing myself here because this chain is extremely strong for me, okay? So this thing is psychologically imprinted in the elephant's brain, and as it grows into maturity or it grows into an adult, it still believes, despite the fact that it has the power to get itself free from there, it still believes that it is incapable of doing that. Why? Because that idea has been really installed in its mind. It has been conditioned to believe that it can free itself from that chain, although it has all the strength that is required for it to be free from there. Okay. I tend to believe that this is the same situation that some of, or the majority of the African nations are, and even some of the African people. Okay. I would say that the elephant in this case is Africa, and the chain is the people who colonized Africa in this case. Okay. What happened is that due to the colonial experience, okay, due to the chain that has been put on them, they believe, since they tried to fight and get themselves out of it, which was possible, but the independence was, according to the people who colonized us, was given to Africans, but in reality it wasn't. So if you are given the freedom, you tend to believe that basically you are not capable of living on your own or depending on yourself. Okay. So now what happens is that despite the fact that these African countries have been freed for more than 60 years, the majority of them achieve or attain their independence in the 1960s. And up to today, these countries still depend on the country that colonized them on military forces. For instance, we have military bases almost in every African countries. Okay, apart from few countries that freed themselves lately from these, like Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. We also see Chad, which also did something. In terms of food, okay, we still import food from these Western countries that colonized Africa, depending on them. So we still depend on them in this aspect. Security, in terms of security, okay, or even in terms of education, when you look at the education system that is still being implemented in these African countries, this is actually the one that was left by the colonial time. Okay, so it's quite impressive to see how our mind has been conditioned to believe that we're incapable of freeing ourselves and basically achieving, I would say, emancipation, right, and independence, and survive on our own. So some of us still believe that we can't do much if we're to be on our own, okay? And that's because we've been conditioned. It's something that's been input in our mind for a while, and we tend to believe that it's impossible. So just for those who might have that mentality, right? The Democratic of Congo, which is the second biggest country in Africa after Algeria, okay, is 10 times the UK, so the United Kingdom, 4 times France. These are big Western countries, big Western powers. 76 times Belgium. Belgium is the country that colonized Congo 76 times. So you can imagine. You can imagine. Can you imagine? 76 times the country that colonized Congo. So it's really impressive to see how huge we are, but we are just unaware. We are really unaware of our power, okay, of our strength. And through this video, I hope you're able to learn something that's probably contributed or changed something in terms of perspective of Africa and also your power, okay, because the bigger you are, the more powerful you are. So again, the size matters a lot. Okay, especially in terms of political power, I think it matters a lot. When you talk of the USA, people are mostly scared of the USA apart from the army side, but also because it's a huge, huge country. Okay, so the size matters. And the next video, as I told you, in this month, I want to focus more on culture related topics. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about what happened in Germany during the Berlin conference, for those who know, but I'm going to go a bit more in details with what happened there. So if you'd like to know more about this topic, then don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Then you don't miss out the next video that will be uploaded next week. All right, if you've done that, again, thank you for watching me until the end of this video, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Take care of you. Bye bye.